Well, thank you, Rachel. It's very interesting in the Netherlands that a lot of investors, pension funds and insurance companies, invested in residential for decades already. And I've been managing the fund for quite a long time, so I've experienced during the crisis, the residential investments performed actually always very good. In the case that the income return was very stable. So we saw value declines on the values of vacant values, but the income return was very stable. Many investors prefer to have a big part of residential investment in their portfolio because of that low risk-return profile. On the other side, the occupancy rate, looking at the Dutch residential market, the occupancy rate is always very high. During the time I was managing those funds, it was always more than 95%, which is very stable. The rental arrears are always very low, so it's a very stable, interesting market. And what we see at this moment is that a lot of investors, not only Dutch but also international investors, see those PKIs of this investment and are really interested in Dutch residential. What we see also, which is very important, is a very important fundamental in the market, in the Dutch residential market, is that there are much more households and growing, that will grow more and more than the offer of houses. So there is a shortage of housing in the Netherlands, which gives good pressure on the market, also on the demand. And that's what we see now. A lot of mostly pension funds, because of the inflation hedge of residential investments, but also insurance companies, private investors and the international investors are looking at investments now, which gives pressure on the yields. That's one side in the development. We see the last 6-7 months. Looking 1 year back, Richard, we were happy that we were able to sell a portfolio. That was only 1 year ago, so it was great. It was possible to sell a portfolio of 100 million, and some other investors also did that last year. And that means that the fundamentals of the Dutch investments are good and stable during a long time, on a long term. But the investment cycle also moves on the same movement as economic cycle, and that's what we see in those Dutch residential investments. On the occupancy market, as there's a shortage, there's a high demand of houses, mainly in the urbanization areas, which is the western part, which has to do with economic growth, especially demographic outlook, demographic growth, and more and more households are small and are looking for smaller houses. So we see that when there's more demand for investments in residential investments, we see more developments, especially new developments in urban areas for smaller units.
Okay, and are you, in terms of stock, are you developing that yourselves in joint venture? How are you?
Yes, we don't do it ourselves. We are a fund, and because of fiscal reasons, we don't do it ourselves. But we work close together with developers, builders also, to use our knowledge about houses, about development together with other parties. That's more and more, and that's also what other investors do at this moment, in cooperation with developers.